Hello, today I'd like to talk about a significant moment in history. November 11th, 2018. Today marks the 100th anniversary of the end of the First World War. A war that began with the assassination of the Archduke of the Austro Hungary Empire that pulled the whole world into war. The first modern war, and a lot of World War One historians consider, even though the 20th century began on the calendar in 1900, a lot of historians, as I was saying, sorry, I had to take care of something, even though they 20th century began calendar January 1st, 1900, that the beginning of World War One marks the social and political start of the 20th century. In a lot of ways, it is the beginning of the 20th century. This war shaped the very fabric of the century to the point where the reasons World War II started were because of how the treaties were handled at the end of this war. It was the first, as I said, modern war. At the time, there was still the old school element. When people would go off, it was more like a carnival feel. And there was more this outdated belief that the guy on the other side wasn't your enemy. He was merely your opponent, and you were there to defeat them. Now, this went away quickly as soldiers arrived at the trenches. Quite simply, the Western Front was the scariest environment imaginable. You were in this subterranean environment because of the slant of the ground. The Allied, they were pretty much always in water. It was cold, miserable, and if you were to peek your head over the trenches and get a look without getting shot at, which wouldn't happen, you would see mud, barbed wire, dead bodies littered everywhere, rats feeding on the dead bodies, and you also, this was the war that used poison gas. You never knew if that exploding shell was going to release some kind of poison gas, and there were doozies from things like chlorine gas to things as horrifying as mustard gas, which, at least with chlorine gas, the gas mask would keep you safe. If mustard gas went off, you weren't so lucky. Everything physically exposed to the mustard gas, and this is what made it so horrifying, was how insidious it was. You could literally not put your helmet on in a mustard gas cloud and you could still breathe in just fine. The problem was, after it dissipated, all the areas of your skin and everything that physically touched the mustard gas, even what you breathed in, would begin to form these nasty blisters and boils. So there was also the horror of just that you never knew when a cloud of poison gas was gonna go off. And I think, like, I forget the percentage, but hold on a second, I'm gonna see if I can find it. I couldn't find it, but it was a pretty high percentage that used the poison gas. And then, if there wasn't that knowledge, it was always waiting for the impending attack where you would go over the trenches. The problem with this was the Germans did have a little bit of a high ground, but no matter which way you slice it, you had groups of people running towards each other on a battlefield to take the other side. Meanwhile, the trenches were armed to the teeth. There were mounted machine guns. It was That's why the war was like a total stalemate for so long, because you would have these bloody, brutal battles where hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of men were killed, and neither side would ever gain an inch. So it was also just dealing with the knowledge that you're probably gonna die not having achieved a thing in the battle, that the lines are gonna stay as they are. Yeah, this war was like nothing ever seen before. And it went on till 1918 with the Treaty of Versailles. This was also the first war to use air power. The Germans would use Zeppelins for attacks. We had planes, bombers, and ooh, I would not want to be the one dropping the bombs, because you pretty much had to get out, walk on the plane, and manually drop the bombs. Yeah, and there was no good position to be in this war. The planes were very primitive. It was just a horrifying experience all the way around. I can't stress that enough. And as far as the poison gas, everyone was using it in the war. It wasn't just the one side, and this needless slaughter just happened because of a spoiled rich kid with a title who was assassinated, essentially. It led to the communist revolution in Russia, which, again, fault line of the 20th century. Some historians have said, and that the Western Front of World War I is the fault line of the 20th century, and it really is. Communist revolution, Cold War. Mussolini was a pacifist before World War I. World War II, the military gave Hitler a focus he never had before. The way Germany was treated after World War I led to the rise of Nazi Germany. So, this war completely shaped and formed the 20th century. I myself like to think of the time between World War I and World War II as a big halftime, in that the war truly didn't end till VJ Day. But I just wanted to talk to you a little about the 100th anniversary of the end of World War I, and just give you something to think about. Now, Battlefield 1 was free on Xbox Gold. I almost have it beat, but I'm going to wait till tomorrow to beat it. Yeah, I'm recording you'll be seeing the video on the 11th. I'm recording this on the 10th, but on the 11th, I'm going to finish beating the game and do a quick little review, just as one more bonus to commemorate the end of the First World War. So what are your thoughts? Tell me down below, comment, subscribe, over and out.